Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, powers taken, not given. Joined as always by John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. John, how are you feeling today? I'm imagining pretty good after Sunday night.
I am feeling very, very good, TJ. Been walking on cloud nine. Yesterday morning, feeling not quite as good. But since I recovered from that, just a wonderful experience. Every moment is just a new tweet that makes me happy about how the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Not only winning the Super Bowl, TJ, winning it against the Chiefs, dominating the Chiefs, blowing the doors off the Chiefs. And I'm not going to lie, knowing Donald Trump was there rooting for the Chiefs while Jalen Hurts smashed their face in was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I bet that was pretty good. I don't watch sports nearly as much as I used to, but wow, I didn't expect. I mean, nobody did, right? No one expected it to be that bad.
I'm an Eagles fan. I didn't expect that at all, TJ. That was incredible.
It wasn't a game at all. It was just like I love watching the reviews of the games since after it happened. I've seen all these broadcasters. People paid hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to analyze sports. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard this sentence. Well, it turns out the way to beat Patrick Mahomes is to rush him with 4 people. I was like, oh, you think they're the first people to think of that? They just could actually do it. Like most teams couldn't get.
Why did I think of that, TJ?
Right, exactly. Oh my God! If only I said 4 D linemen out there that put enough pressure on the line to sack him and hurry him, anyone could beat him. It's like, this is I don't know. I just found that very funny analysis ever since then.
I say the same when they talk about the tush push. Like, oh, it's unfair. I'm just like, well, why doesn't everyone do it then? Like,
yes.
If it's so easy, it's a cheat code. Then why is only one team able to consistently do it?
I hate that. And two, I was glad the Eagles won. I was more glad the Chiefs lost more than anything, and that's primarily because I've seen so many clips with Patrick Mahomes taking advantage of the QB slide thing and trying to get. Now, maybe he does it just as often as every other quarterback. I don't know.
I doubt it. More. He does a little more.
Yeah. Because he knows his status. He knows he's the golden boy. And so people, are going to treat him with kid gloves. But to see him get his shit rocked over and over again, I loved it. I loved watching that.
It is also in a testament to him. It's also because he has just insane, stop and go agility. So he can, if Josh Allen tries to do that, he won't be able to do it. He's too big. He's too momentum based. Whereas he can kind of just change and pop on a dime and he gets those calls. So, it's a little bit the Mahomes is the superstar. It is a little bit that he can do it and others can't. So, I got to give him some credit for.
No. Like Mahomes is every now and then you'll see a professional athlete who doesn't look like a professional athlete. And it always weirds me out. Like Patrick Mahomes is like that. Like you see Patrick Mahomes with the shirt off, he looks like some fucking dude. He just looks like a guy. Yeah. Yep. Nothing like Josh Allen doesn't look like that. Jalen Hurts doesn't look like that. Like a lot of guys oh, that's a professional athlete, but Holmes, but no, he's got something, just
it's the same. I'm literally that way too. Not that I'm a professional athlete.
No, here we go, folks. Here we go.
when I'm at the top peak condition, the top shape I'm in, I don't look shredded. I don't get cut. I look like a normal looking dude. Not much different than what I look like now. I look a little bit smaller, but that's it. I don't but I have been able to lift well more than I do now. I've had way better conditioning. I haven't looked all that much different. It's just some people just got bodies like that.
It happens. Yeah. No, that happens. Tom Brady was kind of like that too. Tom Brady's always been in great shape, but
Tom Brady has never been athletic. Tom Brady,
yeah, that's true. That's a
like a golfer. You can have golfers like Tiger Woods who are built and look the part, and you have golfers that look like fat pieces of shit because it's a very skill-based sport, more so, or at least their aspect of the sport is more skill-based sometimes than physical agility and ability.
Yeah. Now, my favorite part of the Super Bowl, though, I have to admit, was probably a lot of people's favorite. That was a halftime show, and specifically Kendrick Lamar's going into They Not Like Us. A lot of people were wondering if he was actually going to do it. I was like, of course he's going to do it. How could he not do it? You can't set foot in that stadium and not perform that song in some way. But I've been loving watching the videos and the memes of Kendrick Lamar just going, say Drake, just looking at the camera and just smiling after he says the word Drake. And hats off to Kendrick Lamar. What did you think of the show?
I love the show, TJ. I've thought a lot about the show and whether or not I like partially just loved it because I was so high on life at the time. But
Right.
like watching it back, I was very impressed with it, from just like the show itself was really well done. And I'm like an okay Kendrick fan. Like I'll listen to Kendrick. I'm not a huge fan. I don't know
Right.
much about him. Like this is not my cup of tea. So again, that's not where the bias is coming from. But like it was so well done. I thought that the imagery was amazing. I thought the political messaging in the show was really incredible to put on that stage. And like the complete and utter destruction of Drake. It's the culmination of a year-long performance art piece. Like it's so
I've never seen anything
we'll
like
never
it.
see anything like that ever again, where like the Super Bowl halftime show is a year-long event, and this is just the coup d'etat of this entire thing that's happened before. No matter what you think, what you like his music or not, that was so impressive to accomplish.
God, John, I hate to be. I think you meant coup de grace, but not coup d'etat. But coup d'etat.
I did mean
You
coup
did,
de grace.
yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right. My bad. That was me being stupid, not me saying things wrong.
No, this is the character assassination of Drake. The deserved character assassination of Drake. I have loved watching it. I've loved seeing people's reaction, and I've just been wondering this the last year or so that everyone's seen these viral videos of bars, stadiums, middle school dances of just packed full of people calling Drake a pedophile, gleefully calling him a pedophile. That's got to fuck with you, man. That's really got to fuck with you. I don't know how he's doing it.
I would just stop being famous, TJ. I'd hang it up. I'd be like, I've made my millions. I'm going to go retire to a small island country somewhere where no one knows who Drake is. And I'm going to live out the rest of my days in obscene luxury. That's what I would do because how do you go to the grocery store and you just hear the song playing? And like it's just like how do you do it?
If you saw Drake, how could you not start screaming out that song or something like I don't know how you couldn't, because it's not only is the song catchy and everything, but trying to strike a chord. And it's probably A minor, might be the most genius lyric I've ever heard in my life. It is it's some strong competition out there, but it's so funny and it just hits home. And I don't know, I love seeing it. But no, a lot of people didn't have this. Oh, I want to add this real quick. John is saying this is someone who looks like Drake. Every time I post a video of you, John, someone says, "Hey, it's white Drake."
Like, yeah, I get white Drake all the time. It is easily it is white Drake is my number one, and then Mac from Always Sunny is my number two.
Yeah,
those are the two I get all the time.
It is. See, Mac, I saw pretty early, but when someone first called you White Drake on my videos, like, oh my God, how did I not see it this entire time? It's right there.
Especially but anyway, when I'm in like when I have the fade and I'm in profile, yeah, it looks like
it's right there. So speaking of white people, a lot of them didn't seem to like, a certain type of white people didn't seem to like the halftime show. Do you see any of that?
So I don't know which ones are my favorite, TJ. You have the white people, and we saw many of them who were like, just racist shit, just like, this, and the way they coded it was always funny. Like Matt Walsh said some very overtly racist dog whistles, but some of them were just like, I think JD Vance is like, this isn't my cup of tea. And I'm like, I know you're vice signaling to your racist fucking fans while like having plausible deniability. It's so crazy to me that like, the music can turn someone off so much that they feel the need to comment on it, because it was not a technically bad performance. Like it was a technically high level performance. It was, DEI halftime show.
That's my favorite one.
We say this all the time, TJ.
Right. What?
That's I'm reading the N-word right now.
Yes.
There's no other way to interpret that. Like, what is DEI about that? It won 4 fucking Grammys or however many Grammys. Like, there's no better qualification than the guy who just set records at the Grammys this year. That to be like, there's no better qualification. It's only because he's black, and everyone out there was black. And I also loved the takes that were like, "Oh, how come it was all black people?"
I know, right?
Just like, I didn't. Fuck you so hard. But my favorite ones, TJ, it wasn't even the racists. The racists were funny. Don't get me wrong, but I expected the racists.
Right.
I did not expect I guess I should have expected, but the people with such a lack of media literacy that they were like, oh, look, Kendrick has the American flag on stage. Thank God the NFL, who once kneeled for the American flag, is now standing for it. And I'm like, it's almost satirical. I had to do I saw multiple takes like that. And I was like, how dumb.
Yeah.
At least the racists are just being racist. This is just the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's the conservative media literacy thing. We talk about it all the time. It's not changing, so we might as well just get used to it. It's just, I saw some posts like that, and it was almost like kind of quaint. I was like, oh, look at that. Look at that. They're so naive that they don't even realize what's going on here. It reminded me of back in the days of the Colbert Report. And I knew a guy who was conservative, like, that Stephen Colbert, he's funny. He's obviously a conservative. I said, what? He's like, yeah, watch the show every week. I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, it's like they don't get it, man. It's
I'm not letting you take care of children.
Yeah, it's pretty stunning, pretty sad. But yeah, the DEI halftime show was my favorite one. And also I saw some people mentioning that, wow, not one white person on that stage. Yeah, how many hip hop performances could you say that about? Of course, and it's not even a real complaint. This also, I saw a great post. You mentioned Matt Walsh. I forgot all this. I saw him have like 3 tweets he made about it. But someone commented, "Is like, this is the problem with being a conservative and a right winger. You can have all the power in the world, and you can control every lever of influence in the United States government." But it can never make you cool. It can't, and they hate that. They fucking hate that they will never be cool. They always complain about Hollywood, and they complain about pop culture, and as they should. Like they're mocked as the dorks that they are, and they're never going to, ascend those heights, no matter how many elected offices they win.
It's the reason why so many of them fall for Rage Against the Machine over and over and over again. And we do this about like every 8 months. I swear to God, there's a viral person that's like, forgetting that Rage Against the Machine is fucking communist, and like they're like they want the aesthetic of being against the man, but their ideology inherently is keeping traditional values, and it's not cool to say let's keep doing what we're already doing. That is coolness comes from changing the status quo. It's just inherently, and that is why conservatives will never be cool. You'll have a couple I'm sure there's a couple cool conservatives I can think of. I'm saying this, and I expected myself to think of one by the end of the sentence, and it didn't happen.
Well, there could be some who you would think were cool. Honestly, there were some who I would think were cool until I found out they were conservatives. Like they're not like open. Like Clint Eastwood. I can imagine you thinking Clint Eastwood is cool or
Clint
something.
Eastwood is cool. Like Clint Eastwood is
right.
Just, so he understands how to be cool. He has that Jamie Foxx level of coolness where it's just like he's on the screen, he's not saying anything, and yet he feels like a badass. I don't know how he's doing it.
Yeah, it's incredible.
He can do that. That's a good one. I was thinking John Wayne too, but you notice how a lot of these guys are older because the conservative comments kind of start coming out.
That's a good point.
Their coolness immediately.
That's right. Like John Wayne. God, folks, if you ever want a hell of a read, Google John Wayne's Playboy interview he did in the 70s or something like that. It is wild. He talks about how the Native Americans weren't doing anything with the land, so I don't see why it was a problem that we took it away from them. He said that, and by the way, yes, I do believe his actual words. I do believe in white supremacy because I don't think black people are educated enough to actually run this country. I mean, he actually said he believes in white supremacy. It is a tough read. It is a tough read if you like old Westerns. So I don't know. Sorry to break that on you folks.
It's one of those things where it's just like you look at the people running our country right now, and you think about how they were raised, and like John Wayne was a megastar. John Wayne was on Brad Pitt level of megastardom and influence. And it's like this is the type of person who was shaping culture when Joe Biden was growing up. And it's like, obviously these people are out of touch because that was just normal back then for people to say things like, I believe in white. And you know what? I'm realizing Kanye might make me eat my words a little bit here because he's doing the same fucking thing right now. But at least right now, we're all clowning Kanye for it. But I will admit, he kind of does the same thing.
Joe, oh my God, Kanye West. Have you seen the stuff he's been putting on Twitter, man, these last couple of days?
Honestly, it's just like at this point, I think it's just best to ignore. Like with Kanye specifically, I just feel bad for him. Like I know, like, yeah, he's saying I'm a Nazi and like I should be mad about that, but it's like this is a man who's clearly not right, and people are take advantage of him and don't allow him to be healthy. And it's so obvious. Like the first I Love Hitler tour he did, where like what's the Fuentes?
Yeah.
He was with Fuentes, and like they were just all latching on to him. And I was like, this is clearly people taking advantage of someone who is not mentally stable. And he does a lot of bullshit too, and he deserves to be hated for it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I can't get the energy up because at the same time I feel bad for him.
I don't know. Like, yeah, he's got some mental issues, but man, mental issues don't make you a Nazi. That seems to be like too.
Yeah. No, they don't. I'm not excusing the Nazi stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, whenever I see it, it's like watching your racist grandfather who has Alzheimer's get more racist. It's like, yeah, I'm not excusing his racism. He is clearly racist in his core, but it's still sad at the same time. That's kind of the reaction I have to it. You know what I mean? Not that.
Yeah,
I doubt you've ever watched a racist grandparent get more racist. Right? So some other of us have had different life experience.
So with Kanye and everything, I don't know. Like Kanye, I've always enjoyed Kanye West music. I mean, not recently, I don't think, but you know, growing up, I liked a lot of Kanye's music. And when Kanye was always pretty weird. He was always kind of strange. A lot of artists are, but I don't know when it started, like 15 years ago or something. He started getting like crazier and crazier. He started getting wildly anti-black out of nowhere. And you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird. But what's been interesting to me with not just people like Kanye, but artists in general, we've definitely had this conversation before where people do the separate the art from the artist thing. I do that with Kanye West all the time because I love like a lot of Kanye music, and I'm not going to stop listening to it because Kanye is a Nazi. Sorry, not going to change it, right? Like,
and also when he made the music, he wasn't a Nazi.
Like, as far as I know, at least.
I don't think at that point in his life he loved Hitler. I don't think that is the case.
I don't know, because like when this started coming out, when he started saying this stuff and going to Alex Jones saying that he did, I saw these articles people would pull up. I don't know which album it was, but some people who used to work for Kanye said, yeah, when he was working on this album back in the day, he kept telling us how much he admired Hitler. We didn't know what was going on. It was a weird thing. I don't know how far back it went, but I should look it up and see like how long this has been.
If I were to take a guess, it's Life of Pablo. That sounds like Life of Pablo to me, but I could be wrong. I separate. The art is so good, and the art is when it's not directly related to the artist. Like if it's something like I don't know, I learned that the person who made a children's movie was actually a pedophile. That's going to affect, like, Nickelodeon's a great example where, like, when I watch Nickelodeon now, like the old shows I used to love growing up, it's hard not to think about Dan Schneider and what those actors were going through. It is so just on the screen. Whereas when I listen to Gold Digger, I'm not thinking about Hitler in any way, shape, or form. So it doesn't really matter.
It would be if there was like some sort of Kanye song where he was talking about building the Fourth Reich or something. I was like, oh, all right, this is weird. Okay, what's going on here? But I don't know. That's pretty fucked up. But all right, news. Let's get into some news here. All right.
Wait, TJ. I wonder because I found the Matt Walsh tweet because I wanted to pull it up.
Let's go.
It was a well-crafted dog whistle because he said a couple of things, but he said halftime show is trash. Nobody can even understand what he's saying, and the vast majority of football fans haven't even heard of most of these songs. Just a chef's kiss of, football fans are white people who don't listen to rap music, which is also just such an absurdly stupid thing to say. But the fact that they just are like, oh yeah, football fans. I'm a football fan. I'm white. It's part of my culture. Therefore, other football fans must also be white people too who don't like rap music. Just as someone who played football with a lot of black people on the team that exposed me to a lot of my rap tastes. It's such an absurd take that, like, if you didn't understand it as an intentional dog whistle, I don't even know how you would like understand what he's saying.
Right, yeah, it is. Football is obviously a white man sport. This sport that's like 75% black is definitely a white man sport.
I've never heard rap music at a football game before.
Right? When did this
what a
start
weird
happening?
thing.
Mark says, guys, I love you, but I have another event, so please be smartish. Mark, how dare you schedule something?
You've been scheduling a lot of events on Thursday.
Yeah, not the first time. Not the first time. Go Eagles, John. Love the green tint. Yep.
Go Birds, Mark.
I wonder if Mark.
All right.
Whose
Anyway,
team is?
news, real things that are going on.
Boy. All right. So maybe I want Gaza is what I put on the thumbnail, whatever. So I'll hit Gaza first. You know, that's
by the
always...
way, guys, this is our Q&A show. So we allow you to, if you guys want to guide the conversation, talk about something, we are here for you. This is your time.
Yeah,
to let us know.
Light on the comments today.
I feel like I've been getting more good comments and questions on the Thursday show.
What's going on?
I'm like, guys, come on Tuesday.
Yeah, we set this aside especially to ignore you, and you guys are not letting this go down. So I don't even know, like, this stuff just keeps happening over and over again. I don't know if this was like when this actually came out, but did you about Trump wanting to turn Gaza into essentially a resort? And he I'll play a clip here. This is a Fox News clip of Trump talking about this. This is just it's especially insulting to me because when I see these articles talking about Trump and his plan to ethnically cleanse Gaza, remove 2 million people, the articles I'll see on The Hill, the New York Times, or whatever, it's like Trump's controversial plan for the deal with Gaza, whatever thing, and not referring to it as exactly what it is. But here we go. Here's Trump talking about whether or not the people of Gaza have a right to return, I believe.
We'll build beautiful.
Oh, great! It's not playing. Do you not hear it?
People.
I hear.
We'll build beautiful communities.
I don't.
Safe
Weird.
Communities. Could be 5, 6, could be 2, but we'll build safe communities a little bit away from where they are, where all of this danger is. In the meantime, I would own this. Think of it as a real estate development for the future. It would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians
no
have the
big
right
money
to return?
spent. No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them. Because if they have to return now, it'll be years before you could ever. It's not habitable. It will be years before it could happen. I'm talking about starting to build, and I think I could make a deal with Jordan. I think I could make a deal with Egypt. You know, we give them billions and billions of dollars a year.
All right. So Trump saying that I don't even know where to start sometime with this, where he says, hey, I want to remove all the Palestinians from Gaza and make it a resort. And Brett Baer asked a question that we all been wondering. Hey, these Palestinians that you say will voluntarily leave their home, will they have a right to return? Trump's answer, no, they won't want to return. Not the question that Baer asked, like, will they have the right to return? The answer is no, because we'll find them a better place, billions and billions of dollars. I'm not seeing nearly enough outrage over this. Like, I feel like I barely hear it talked about at all. And this is one of the most repugnant things in a strong field of competition. One of the most repugnant things I've ever heard Trump say.
I mean, we talked about this in the show last week when Netanyahu had his joint press conference with Trump, and he originally said essentially the same thing that he said in this statement. It was one of probably the hardest night to sleep since the election, because it was just like, wow, what he intends to do. I hate to say it this way, TJ, but ethnic cleansing seems to be the best outcome, because what we're looking at right now, Jordan, he met with, I forget the leader's name.
King Abdullah.
He met with him and he was like, no, we still don't want to take them. And that's what everyone is going to say. And so it doesn't take that many jumps of logic to go, well, if he wants to move them and there's nowhere to move them to, there's only one option remaining, TJ. And yeah, you're right. It should be getting a lot more outraged than it is. But I think that the reason it isn't is because it all seems fugazi still. Like, I don't know how to separate real words from fake ones. And so I'm like, okay, when it was with Netanyahu, it was actually a lot scarier for me, because I was like, okay, Netanyahu's smiling at this, which means it's really bad. I don't know what's going to happen, TJ. But until like something happens, I think people are just kind of waiting to see what because we don't know, because none of his plans, as much as he's like, yeah, I'm going to ethnically cleanse Gaza, he hasn't. There's been no understanding of how he's going to actually accomplish that. And until we have that, until he's like, we're sending troops, I think it's hard to. It's basically status quo still. Like, he has said a lot of repugnant things, but right now we're still at status quo. And until that changes, I think it's hard to like know what exactly to be outraged about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've never heard anything like this before. I can't think of another example of in my lifetime of hearing, we're going to clear out all these people, just explicitly say so, and then replace them with someone else, or turn it into,
I can think of a couple history classes where I heard stuff like that.
Yeah, right. And so, like you were saying that if the forced removal doesn't work, well, what are they going to do? I wonder. I don't know if let's say that happens. They do go full final solution on this, and they just start executing people en masse. Would Americans care? I mean, would they really care? I don't know. I don't know. I know Trump supporters won't care. They won't give a fuck. I mean, they've been saying turn Gaza into a glass parking lot or whatever for years now. They'll be celebrating it with glee. And that, I don't know. I wish I could say I wasn't so naive, but I did think better of people. I really did. Oh yeah, here we go. Balls. And conservatives won't even care about the cost either, because their guy is doing it. Yeah, I know that is kind of sad.
It's been, TJ, everything is just a seesaw of emotions, because on one hand, I see Fox News asking that question, and at least that gives me hope that the media won't just roll over and die. If Fox News is making a specific point to ask that question, there is at least some people at Fox News who think it's an important question to ask. And that's Fox News. So on one hand, I'm like, okay, there's something here. But I see the normal everyday reporting on these topics not using the words ethnic cleansing, not using the correct terminology to describe what's going on.
Right.
We're no longer at, hey, we're talking about dog whistles or anything. What Trump is verbatim saying is, I want to move everyone of this ethnicity from their homeland to another area and not let them come back. There's no mincing words. That's ethnic cleansing. And the general reporting on it has not been saying that. So you're right, TJ. I know a lot of Americans will care a lot. I don't know if the Americans who have the power to stop it will care enough. And that's because they didn't care enough when, Biden was doing another version of it. So like, where's the line where it suddenly becomes, this is a thing? We're going to openly say that we're committing war crimes while they're going on. I don't know, TJ.
I know that is my biggest fear, and I'm leaning toward that they will not only accept it but celebrate it. I do. I think that they'll be like, oh, this is good. Look, finally an end to all this aggression. And Trump, this is him talking to King Abdullah, actually, and this isn't about. King Abdullah said that he would take, I think, 2,000 sick Gazan children. He said he could bring them in, but he wouldn't do anything else. But this is well, here they asking Trump a question about the authority he has to do this.
The U.S. would buy Gaza, and today you just said we're not going to buy Gaza.
We're not going to have to buy. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. We will have Gaza.
What is that?
No reason to buy. There is nothing to buy. It's Gaza. It's a war-torn area. We're going to take it. We're going to hold it. We're going to cherish it. We're going to get it going eventually, where a lot of jobs are going to be created for the people in the Middle East. It's going to be for the people in the Middle East, but I think it could be a diamond. It could be an absolute tremendous asset for the Middle East.
And Mr. President, take it under what authority? It is sovereign territory.
Under the U.S. authority.
What authority do you have to take it? Well, we're the United States, so we can do it. Yeah, we can just do it. And
TJ, like as much as it is devastating to hear the words spoken so bluntly,
Yeah.
Tell me with a straight face that isn't an accurate description of U.S. foreign policy positions. Like if you were to describe, hey, does the U.S. think it has the authority to just take land because it can? Hell fucking yes, it does.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it sucks to hear it stated so bluntly, but like that's the case.
It's at least in recent history, our violation of the sovereignty of other nations has been with precision. I'm not justifying it, but it's been like we'll execute someone that we don't like on a sovereign land. Like, we think this guy's a terrorist. We'll send a drone in there to kill them. If someone ever did that to us, we would declare war immediately. But we're the United States. We get to do what we want. I've never seen it to this such blatant example where, we're going to clear out millions of people and do whatever we want with the land. That they try. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty bad.
I mean, okay, so like the land thing, sure, but I mean the Iraq War, like that was as blatant of a infringement on another nation's sovereignty as you can get. Everyone in America is well aware that the U.S. government lied about its justification for doing so, and no one actually gives a shit. There was never any consequences. Like for anyone involved, there was no consequences. So like, that's why I'm saying like, it really sucks to hear it stated so bluntly, but it's kind of a continuation of everything that's been going on. Like it's the biggest surprise to me is that he apparently like, I don't know. The biggest thing to me, I guess, is that like, he's just saying, we're going to just conquer that land.
Yeah.
It's
no pretense or anything.
Yeah, no pretense. He's just like, no, it's who would we buy it from? And it's like, he does have a point. Like, what? Who are they going to buy it from? I mean, obviously, people legally own the land, but not if they're not there. It's blunt, but it is an honest interpretation of the U.S. foreign policy position. Just escalated. It's not a change in position.
Yeah. And if it does come to the point that the United States, militarily forces people out of Gaza, Balls here is right that they'll still continue saying no new wars. They'll keep saying it loud, no new wars under Trump. That doesn't count. Or you know what? Maybe they'll stop saying it and just justify it anyway. That hypocrisy doesn't matter when you're dealing with the MAGAs. It doesn't matter at all. So I don't know.
Like TJ, I don't even know, because I know what like the propaganda has been saying about it. But what I'm really, this is the other thing that I'm struggling with right now. So much fire hose that it's hard to focus on any one thing. Right. It's like, I don't even know how this is going over in, like, I don't know how it's going over in normie conservative land. I don't know how it's going over in pro-Israel Dem land. Like, I haven't seen much about it, but like, are they upset about this? Because I don't know. I don't know, TJ. I don't even know what the justification. Usually, I can I can hear something and I can immediately say, "This is how this type of person's going to justify that," and I can't do it here. It's just so unjustifiable. The only thing I can understand is the straight up lies and propaganda. I don't even know how anyone else is with a straight face justifying this.
Oh, well, you could have guessed one person. You could have guessed this one. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so because he's a fucking genocidal maniac. Fetterman has the bloodlust so bad. He wants to personally be the one murdering Palestinians with a fucking baseball bat. That's horrifying. Fetterman. And you know what, John? You have a problem with that? I live in your state, so come see.
There you go. Yeah, I can imagine your casual normie Democrat being fairly, off put by this. Like I can, even like your regular Zionist was like, oh, that sounds like pretty bad. I can't fathom conservatives being concerned with this at all. They probably wouldn't pay attention to it. They'll probably talk about, oh, this is great for real estate development. This is going to bring so many new jobs and fill the coffers of the United States, and it'll be a safe place for tourists to try. I mean, they're just going to go with the economics of it, and Trump's doing it. Like, there's not anything Trump could do that they would be upset about. I don't think they'd have a moral opposition to it in the first place, but the fact that Trump's behind it, I guarantee that your normal conservative either likes it or doesn't care about it. There's no way that they'd be upset about it.
So here's my question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say he does this.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a line in which the military doesn't go along with it?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. Just because of the time and the manpower and the resources, that there's only so much.
I'm
No,
sorry.
really.
I'm sorry. I thought you were about to like give me a very hopeful statement about the
No.
moral values.
No,
that
not
like,
at all.
people actually doing it. No, you're just like, no, it's just too much of a waste of time.
No, it would be a massive commitment that would get people killed. And like that, they don't want to do that. Like, blood is comes at a very expensive cost, and so they don't want to spend the money and time for what? So Trump can build a resort? No, I don't think like that. I do think there would be some pushback against that. I really do. Yeah, I wish I could give you a moral answer, but unfortunately, no. It's the pragmatic one. Yeah.
What?
That was funny. Your reaction was funny there.
Yeah. That there would, and I'm really just taught. Like usually when I come on the show, TJ, and like to our audience, like I have the things that I'm gonna say outlined at least, and like here I'm really just genuinely like speculate. Like there will be deserters, right? There must be people within the military that go, no, this is the Holocaust. Like this is, I won't do this. Like, and I wonder how far it can go, because I think kind of what you're saying is right, where it's like I'm a little disappointed with the reaction so far, because I think we all sort of thought on some level, again, I'm of two minds. I can't even finish a thought here, TJ. I think we all sort of thought on some level that when we learn about the American empire and everything, we decode a lot of the propaganda that we were taught as kids, and we just kind of assume that when the propaganda becomes obviously false for most Americans, they would go the way that we did. And what is very worrying is like, shit, maybe even if we start describing it as another Holocaust, they're still going to go with it. Like, and that's the really dark thought deep down. But then it's like, also, I know that most Trump voters, the vast majority, don't pay fucking attention. They don't know any of this is going on. So like I don't know. I don't have an answer for anyone right now. I'm still processing all this.
The only way it would actually come back to bite Trump or anything is if it was an Iraq level like deaths that start happening, because that people will turn against that. Like the Americans don't have, generally, even conservatives don't have an appetite for another war. They don't want to see their kids or their family members dying for what, so they can clear out Gaza. That's not going to be worth it to them. So for sure, if it's like a short exercise, yeah, but if it's a prolonged process of exterminating a population, that's going to get a lot of Americans. Once again, I wish that this wasn't the true answer, but it is. That once it starts costing us a lot of money and a lot of blood and treasure, then Americans and the military will be like, okay, we got to hold up here. But and it's, as long as they can outsource this to someone else, they're not going to really care at all.
Because that's the other thing, TJ. Like what he's describing is very difficult to accomplish. Like that,
exactly.
That's part of the reason why I haven't, I don't know, like gone into full panic. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, but like, had that as intense of a visceral reaction as one might think I would have, because I'm just like, well, what he's describing is impossible. Like just like the actual logistics of what it would take many years and trillions of dollars, even if he did have the full support of the United States population. The actual logistics of removing 1.8 million people from that location in a dense, destroyed urban jungle with active militant resistance, it's not, I'm no military expert, but that doesn't seem like an easy thing to do, or else Israel would have done it many, many moons ago. So like, yeah, it's going to be very difficult to actually accomplish, and I just hope that prevents it from ever getting there. Like I hope that the people who need to be convinced to actually go through with this stop it from happening by just going, yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah, you're right that there's no like plan in place to do whatever, but maybe I'm just being, thinking too much about it. But the fact that it can be said out loud like that, with no euphemisms, without trying to hide it behind a statement, just blatantly say, yeah, we would love to do this, and it's just another news day, is pretty frightening to me. Huge Ass, how's it going, my friend? Says, if Trump dressed in drag, came out as an atheist, burned a Bible, shot someone on Fifth Avenue, and nominated a liberal Muslim homosexual ACLU pastor or professor to SCOTUS, would that shake up the cult? Okay, I don't know if if I told you this, John. My theory on this: I don't think any of that would shake up the Trump cult. I think there's only one thing only that would shake up the Trump cult. It wouldn't destroy it, but it get dealt a heavy blow, and that is if Donald Trump came out as someone who had sex with men, but only if he was a bottom. That's the only way. I think that if Trump came out, he's like, yeah, I like to have sex with men. The MAGA guys, he'd be like, oh, what's more alpha than fucking another dude? I know they would say that. But if Trump came out and people says, yeah, I only have sex with men and, I'm the one receiving, that would turn a lot of them off. I think that is literally the only thing that could turn people away from Trump. It wouldn't turn most of them away, but it's the only thing I think could turn a huge chunk of them away. What do you think, John?
So I actually agree with that. But here's the thing. I do think that would turn some people away, but I don't think any one of these things does it. And obviously, Hugh Jass is saying this in jest. He's not going to do any of these things, but that he's not invincible. His cult leader persona has a lot of power, but he doesn't own that power. That power is given to him. And if enough of the pillars fall, his power falls too. Because while there are hardcore Trump is my God people, a lot of them get pulled in from other sources. A lot of them, for example, with, religion, the religious aspect, as you talked about in the last show, what was it? 70% of Christians, something like that, voted for Trump. And, the evangelicals are always going to be with him because they're tied together. But like we saw the Pope today kind of chastise the Trump administration, chastise J.D. Vance for using Catholic ideology to justify mass deportations. Like, if the Pope comes out on an anti-Trump crusade, that will cause a lot of Catholics to break. Not a lot of Christians in general, probably, but it will cause some Catholics to break off. And if you start to break off enough of these pillars, suddenly that support becomes a lot weaker. And the moment where you can oppose Trump as a Republican and it help you will be a moment where all of his power shatters, because that's where his power is right now. Like, all of the Republicans are afraid of voting against him because of the consequences of it. There's a lot of Republicans who want to oppose at least some things that he is doing, but that won't because they're afraid of the power that he has. But if you chip away at that enough, and it's also, and God, I'm scared of saying this, but I know that he already knows it, so whatever. Like, it's why he's going to come after the first deserters with all the wrath and fury in his power, because he needs to make sure he kills that motherfucker. Like, when you are in a fight against multiple people, and if you can just quickly dispatch the first person in brutal, aggressive fashion, you can get all the others to run away, because they don't want to be the next one. Even if they know all of them are going to beat you, they don't want to be the one to be hurt like that. And so, like, that's what he's going to do. And that's what we're going to see. This is going to be like the battle within the battle of whenever that first Republican stands completely against him, what's going to happen? And like, there's still a couple that can like Mitch McConnell. He has enough juice, and he's not long for this world, so he can sort of say things against him. But we'll see. Whoever the first deserter is, that's going to be a big moment.
I don't think it's ever going. Mitch McConnell has stood against Trump a couple times, and now the Republicans hate Mitch McConnell. There's no one has ever stood up against. They
hate Mitch McConnell, but he can't suffer consequences. Like,
no,
he still has all the power he used to. He still has all of the. He's never going to get voted out. He's going to die before he gets voted out. Like, he's not scared of Donald Trump, so he can do what he wants.
Right, but it did not start this like snowball of other Republicans hating Trump, because like if they're not protected like McConnell, then it's just suicide.
That's
to go
why I'm saying
Trump.
There's going to be someone I swear to God, I hope. I'm saying in the path where it doesn't lead to the Holocaust, there is someone that breaks, and that's
But what would they break over? That's like, I really don't know, because like Trump, I mean, what would happen for any Republican to say, all right, that's the only time this happened that I can think of with someone who actually McCain couldn't suffer consequences either, when he voted against Trump's healthcare bill. Well, that's the only time I can think of, and he was about to die. So, I mean,
the answer again is when it starts affecting the treasure. Like that's why I'm saying you need a lot of pillars to start pulling off.
yeah.
It's like right now, if it happened, it wouldn't happen. I 100% agree with you. But let's say there's a lot of economic anxiety. There's huge fluctuations in the stock market because of tariffs, because of all of these things happening. And that's starting to hurt the pocketbooks of the donors. That's when you start to see the potential for this to happen. You see, there has to be a lot of pain before we get there. That's what sucks about what I'm saying, but that is kind of the truth. I think the treasure, once that gets affected, the blood will follow.
Oh, that's good. All right. I want to get to that. I want to address what Kyle said too. I think the biggest fear is that Donald Trump has religious authority. If Christian nationalists abandon him, he will lose all support. There is no one in Congress who will break. It would have to be the religious sphere, and I think Kyle's correct, and that will never fucking happen. Like these folks have. I mean, I don't know. I'm not Catholic, so I don't know exactly how these folks roll, but I do know that the Pope. 2 different popes, I think, have spoken out against stuff that Trump has done, especially with immigration stuff, and or whenever the Pope comes out with saying stuff. I remember when the Pope said that he wasn't sure if atheists will always stay in hell or something. I feel like this is like 6 or 8 years ago or something like that. And I saw all these trad cats online, like Matt Walsh and Michael. I forgot the other guy's name. Works for Daily Wire, but they were trashing the Pope. I was like, okay, Michael Knowles. And they wrote all these articles like, oh, who does the Pope think he is? Like, the Pope? That's who he thinks he is. What?
Literally the Pope.
Yeah. So like these guys too, they worship the religious authority more than anything else. I just don't foresee this ever. It's like this Rube Goldberg series of events that would have to take place for people to start chipping away and abandoning Trump. And you mentioned the funding and how that would hurt. Yeah, they've always kind of been embarrassed by Trump. Like the conservative intelligentsia, to the extent that it exists, can't stand him. Like conservative academia, conservative donors, even conservative media, they were all against Trump both times when he first started running because they see him as an international embarrassment and a domestic liability. And even with fundraising, like if you look at the money that Kamala Harris did for fundraising and Trump, she outraised them by 2 times, way more money. And it all of that doesn't matter if the base, like Kyle mentioned, is not abandoning him. Again, they would have to be like a religious break because as we go back to the Christians, maybe you're right with the Catholics, I don't know, but the evangelicals and the Protestants, they aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, well, so Hugh Jazz says, well, if liberal Muslim homosexual ACLU professor won't turn off the evangelicals, nothing will.
No, it won't.
Nothing will turn off the evangelicals. Because the evangelicals the Catholics, some of them have a real belief system. And in that belief system, the Pope is infallible. And so, like, the real diehard religious people, if the Pope, because the Catholic Church is an organization, unlike evangelicals, the Catholic Church is a organized system. And if it came from the top down of, hey, because I grew up in the Catholic Church, you got fucking political messaging during your sermons all the goddamn time, right? But if he started just switching that, it could change. I genuinely think that. But what you said in the past, he's come out against, but there hasn't been a change in the structure. Like this Pope is a progressive Pope relative to other popes, and so he said things that have pissed some Catholics off, whatever. But if he said, "Hey, to all the bishops, we're doing this now," and they followed along, and then the priests followed along with the bishops, it could turn a, what was it, 63 Catholic majority into a 43 Catholic majority. And that's significant. It's not going to get all of them, but it will get a lot of them. And if you do that, again, the evangelicals, they don't really actually have a belief system. I don't believe they actually believe in God. I believe they believe what they're told. Because if they believed in God, the God that we read about in the Bible, they wouldn't say any of the things that they do. They just wouldn't. I don't think they have a real fucking religion, TJ.
Okay. I'm letting this go on. I haven't.
I know you've always said, they actually believe. I'm like, I don't think they do. In their core, I think there's other beliefs that overshadow it. And if you push to shove, if you showed them a picture of Donald Trump at the fucking concentration camp gassing people himself, they would still justify it. And at that point, you don't fucking believe in the God that you claim to. You know,
I mean, why not? Why not? Look what God did in the Old Testament. It seems pretty much in line, if you ask me. It doesn't seem terribly distant from what God did. And I don't.
If they go that route, they can. You know, I'll give that to you. They can go that route, but that's a stone left unturned still.
There's
as
no.
Far as
I don't know.
They're not actively calling for the Holocaust yet.
They wouldn't care. Like they wouldn't. It is a evangelical Christianity, like in the American form, American evangelical Christianity. I agree that calling it Christianity is kind of is too simplistic, because what it really is a civic religion that worships white conservatism and capitalism, that like with a cross like sprinkled over it. It is there. They do believe in God.
In the way that like Democrats are pro-trans. Like when it benefits them, they'll put a sticker on. When it doesn't,
they don't know
shit about it.
Yeah, they don't know anything about it. It's just that it is, I don't know, like growing up as an evangelical, we always said the Catholics weren't really Christians, like in a lot of ways. Yeah, I know. And it was funny as I studied and got older. It's like, oh, actually, you go far enough in church history, it's all Catholic. So I guess maybe they are Christians after all. And
the Catholics we are elitists and we deserve to be. That's what I always say about the Catholics.
The Catholic Church was always very, very funny to me. A lot of it was just really funny, like with the weird chanting and the robes and the funny hats, and like in your Protestant churches you have your preacher, and things pretty much stop there. Like your church is just like an independent body. But at church, Catholic church, there's a preacher and then like a mega preacher over him. Like what? And then there's like this ecclesiastical chain, a Presbyterian chain of preachers going all the way up to the Pope. It's like that's dumb. I don't know. But the Catholic Church, the Catholics do take study and intelligentsia seriously, and Protestants don't. Well, evangelical Protestants, as I grew up, they don't. What do we got here? John, you're being too rational. Evangelicals are masters of cognitive dissonance. I used to be one. Well, I mean, so are Catholics. Let's not get carried away here. Okay, let's not pretend that's not the case. Okay,
if you believe in an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-loving God, you must be a master of cognitive dissonance, because there's no way to justify that rationally. What I'm saying, Balls, is that I don't believe they even believe any of the shit is actually real. They will believe whatever justifies their position, and they will claim to believe it to their core. But I don't think people like that actually believe the things they claim to, and that's what I'm sticking with.
All right, John. So I don't know if we ever talked about this, but did you know that the 10 Commandments are different for Protestants and Catholics?
No.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
I didn't either until a couple of years ago. So I learned the 10 Commandments, and I'm going somewhere with this, but I learned the 10 Commandments as thou shalt have no other gods before me, thou shalt not make any graven images, thou shalt not take the Lord's name. God. Oh, so all right, so you already caught right one that's not there, right?
Yes, that's not what.
So it is there, just so you wonder. But so okay,
no, I'm trying to remember what the ones in order. Oh, so like I remember them in general. I forget but the graven images is not how we said it. So I'm wondering if it's a different thing.
So I'm looking at the list right now. The 10 Commandments. This is all right. All right. The reason I brought this up, guys, if you're wondering, is because I couldn't understand why the Catholic Church had like icons and statues and shit when the 10 Commandments very clearly say you're not supposed to make graven images. It never made any sense to me, like why they're ignoring the second commandment. But then I found out a couple years ago, I was like, oh, in the Catholic Church, that's not written there. Like that's in the text.
Take the Lord's name in vain is the Catholic Church for the second commandment, I believe.
Yeah. So like in the verse, and what's the first commandment? This is actually my favorite part. What's the first commandment?
It's the same way. It's I am your Lord, your God. You shall not have other gods before me, or however the fuck it.
And so after that in the Bible, it says thou shalt not make any graven images. The Catholics leave it out because they want to make their statues. They love their statues and shit. And so that's just like there are tiny little differences like that, and that's one of them that I like. So I didn't consider it a serious religion because you left out one of the commandments, just pretended it wasn't there.
So first of all, again, we're the ones who've documented all this shit. So if anyone knows what the fucking stones,
Apparently not.
Apparently
not.
Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. This is like one of my like pet like things I like to talk about, which I don't know if I've ever mentioned on the show. But when you're taught that as a Catholic kid, it's obviously like, I don't know what those words mean. What do those words mean? And so they tell you, oh, it's like cursing. You shouldn't say curse words because it's insulting God. And that's what you're told. But what it actually means within Catholic ideology is you shouldn't use the word of God to justify something that God wouldn't have actually justified. Like if you were to say, I killed that guy because God told me to. That's taking the Lord's name in vain. An extreme example, right? But one that we've seen many times. So like that's what's always funny to me is that the way Catholics teach that to children is quite literally breaking the commandment. Because God doesn't give a shit if you say fuck. He doesn't. He gives a shit if you tell people that they can't say fuck because he told you to. Like it's literally the way they teach the commandment breaks the commandment. I've always found that very funny.
Wait, what does fuck have to do with taking God's name in vain?
That's what I'm saying. Like they tell kids, they're like, you can't curse. That's what that means. And like that makes sense. As a parent, you're like, yeah, you can't curse. And yeah, it's loosely related. They don't actually know what that commandment means either, because they were taught it means you can't say God damn. You can't
that's
say
what
that.
that's what I was taught.
And so like it extends to curses.
Every curse word, they just grandfather them all in. Yeah,
but it doesn't even mean goddamn. Like that. Like there are very religious people who would say goddamn in a very literal meaning of that word, and that would be totally fine. It's not the word itself that's the problem. It is the misappropriation of using God's name in a bad way. That's the problem.
Yeah. It went to that I didn't learn that till I was an adult too about that, because I was taught that don't take God's name in vain meant don't say oh my God, something like that. Just you're not allowed to say that. But it did seem strange to me because the verse wow, look, what are we doing here? But anyway, the verse
is a wild show. It's been a wild show, PJ. I'm also, by the way, I'm coming off of like I was like so down last week. And then, like, I've just been on a high, Super Bowl high, and just consuming mostly positive content. That stepping back into political news today, was it felt so bad. I literally had a moment. I was like, "Fuck! What if I just gave this all up and just ignored everything that's going on?" I would be so much happier.
You probably would. And so when I learned about this, or when I first heard the verse and said, "Okay, you can't take God's name in vain," it did come out a little strange. I don't think I ever asked anybody, but it was in my head. I swear. Is that all right? God's name is not God. God is a title, right? And I was like, God's name is Yahweh or Jehovah or Elohim. That and because if you read how like the ancient Hebrews did this, they took the name of God very seriously. They would, change pens whenever his name actually came up. They write it and then they get a different pen or something. They'd wash their hands. They wouldn't just speak the name of God flippantly or something. So that made sense to me. But the word God, like that's not on his name tag, right? That's not how that works. And so, I always thought that was a little bit.
Security card does not say God. It says
right.
Yahweh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I don't know. That was always kind of odd to me. But okay, hold on. I'll get to Kyle's comment here real quick. Protestants have two different covenant commandments. Covet commandments. I don't know what you mean by that, because it's like the covet commandment is thou shalt not covet the neighbor's wife, the neighbor's ass, the neighbor's I know it was written two different ways, but Lutherans
cover your neighbor's goods.
No.
I don't know. Yeah. It's honestly like the fact that like I'm struggling to remember all 10 commandments is pretty, but they're all written differently. Like every single one I'm looking for here, I'm like, what did I learn? Okay. No, this is what I learned. I had thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Those are the two that I definitely learned.
Yeah. I think the other 9 are all the same. Like honor thy father, thy mother, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. Yeah, I think those are all the same. It's just the second one is different. And
I remember as a kid thinking, why is there thou shalt not commit adultery and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. I remember, I'm pretty sure like I asked this question in CCD, and it very much like gave pause to my teacher, where I was just like, but why are they two different commandments? How could I possibly I think she said kiss, because as a kid, how could I kiss my wife without wanting to kiss her? I don't understand. And she was like, those are the commandments.
John, take it up with the big guy, okay? Get your knees at night and pray to him.
She was like, ask your mom about this.
Yeah, I don't know. And someone said, invite Dan McClellan. Okay, I did a interview with a TikTok creator named Blurred Runner on my YouTube channel, Power Stake and I Give. Check it out sometime. It's a great interview. And he is another former evangelical, and we were talking about Dan McClellan. Do you know who Dan McClellan is, John? He is, you've probably seen his videos on TikTok, but he does a lot of debunking of people claiming like the Bible actually says this or whatever.
This guy's really good. Yeah,
he's great. He's great. And the thing with Dan McClellan that gets me, his content is fantastic. I got no shade with Dan McClellan. Well, everything he says is great. He's a biblical scholar. He sources everything. He's really smart and all that. The guy's a Mormon, and he gets up and he'll say, well, the Mormon Bible says this and Mormon doctrine says this, but none of it's true. None of it is true at all. He does this all the time. And he does it with the Bible too. And it's like, buddy, why do you keep saying you're a Mormon? I don't understand. I don't get it. Because every time he goes on there to talk about doctrine, he's like, yeah, this is all made up. The consensus of scholars is it's all nonsense. None of it's real. And I don't get his thing. I don't understand. So Dan McClellan, I got questions for him. I wonder why that is.
PJ, something, I don't know. I can't speak for Dan McClellan, but something that has become crystal clear to me over recent years in my life is that, and we've kind of talked about before, at a certain level, we require to believe irrationally. In order to just live and exist in life, we must hold irrational belief. And if you disagree with that, we can keep asking why to whatever you fucking want, and you're going to eventually land at, I just believe that. Like, why is it bad to kill people? Because, it hurts people. Why is it bad to hurt people? Because, it causes pain. Why is pain bad? Eventually you're just going to get to, I just think this because that's how I feel. And once you kind of like grapple with that, it's like, maybe at some point, especially for like really intelligent, like religious people like that, I think a lot of them just go, I'm going to believe this. This is what I'm going to believe. I got to pick something. I'm going to believe this. I feel like if you went all the way deep down, that would be their answer. Because I do it too. At a certain level, that is what I do. I might do it a little bit farther down that Y chain than they do. I do.
You're right. Everyone's first principles are definitionally irrational. That is true. There's no getting around that. However, all irrationalities are not created equally, right? Some things are blatantly more irrational than others. And saying that I would not like to be killed, all right, there's a reason for that. I don't want to die and everything. But I believe this is real for no reason at all other than that I want to, is a little different to me, right? It's a little different to me than, I don't know. If you can, of course, there's no required to explain it to me, but I don't know why you would go out of your way to say all this is bullshit over and over and over again, and then say, but I believe it. Say, no, you don't. You're telling me you don't believe it, but I don't know. This is a funny comment here. Invite Paula White. I would love to have Paula White. That is Donald Trump's spiritual advizer. She's that lady.
Is she like that? Okay, I was about to say, is she that blonde girl? And I was like,
yep, that's that. Right. A lot of his points is everyone cherry picks. You can do so honestly and to help the poor or to structure powerful. Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is like people who take religion and the best parts of it and try to make the world better. I can't really complain too much about it. It's like, fine, at least you're using this for, some sort of good. I do think, John and I mentioned this, it does kind of give cover to everyone else, though, that uses it for the shitty reasons. And if you're willing to say, I'm going to believe this with no evidence, I'm going to think you're going to believe other things with no evidence. Why wouldn't you? This is clearly how your brain works. I don't know.
That's why I've always just, I have no problem with faith. I have no problem with religious people. I have problem with people who practice organized religion, because you might be able to make that argument, but like, you are part of an organization which doesn't do that. Like, you're with, and especially with the Catholic Church, but like, I look at a Catholic mass, I'm like, you're literally all giving money to a known pedophile ring. That is what you were doing. That is an accurate description of your actions. And even if you don't support that aspect or whatever, you are still giving cover for everyone else who is there, even if you're not actually tithing, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, you're giving cover for everyone else who's there. You're supporting this organization. You wouldn't go to a fucking KKK rally because
I don't believe in the KKK that way. That's not how I practice it.
Exactly. But even if you believed in whatever the KKK preaches as reality, it's just like it's the same fucking thing. It is an evil organization, and just being there gives cover to everyone else who supports it for bad reasons.
We're chasing away all the Christians this episode.
I'm sorry, TJ. Did we have a large Christian audience?
Well, no, this is like, to me, it's like, I agree 100%. It does all of that damage and stuff, but it also is just like, it's such a stupid thing to say. You know what I hate? We're running late. We got to cut off real quick. But I can't stand it when people try to get all cute with it and they say, well, I believe in God, but I don't believe in the old man of the sky. That's ridiculous. I don't believe in that. Like, to me, God is energy, or God is love, God is life, God is fucking tennis shoes, or whatever. And I always respond to that by saying, that's like coming up and saying, I believe in Santa Claus, but I don't believe in the old man of the North Pole, right? That's absurd. I believe that Santa is the love of the Christmas season and the joy and the giving we give. It's that fucking absurd. But you hear people say that like, oh, that's so wise. That's so intelligent. Like, you've really figured it out. You haven't trapped yourself in a box. Like, no, you just found another name for your unjustifiable belief.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we have Wiseacre on Thursday, I believe. John, do we not?
Yes.
I think
Wiseacre. That'll be a good show. I'm happy to have him back.
Good dude. His account got nuked right after our show.
His account got nuked, and I just followed his new account, and I've been enjoying his shit. So I'm glad to have him back on my page. But yeah, we'll be here on Thursday at 6:30 EST with special guest Wiseacre. Special guests, like all of our guests, are special guests. I at some point they go from special guests to recurring guests to show regular. I think that's the life cycle of a guest. Would you agree with that?
I like it. I like it. The Orange Clown's final solution ain't gonna happen. Free Palestine from the road to the sea. Huh, love it, Mary P. I haven't seen this commenter before, but yeah, appreciate you watching the show.
If you agree with Mary P's statement, you're gonna love our show. Be here on Thursday.
Later, folks.